Welcome back to Deep Dive Survivor, everyone. And guess where I'm to now? I'm in the backyard and we're going to build a high-speed picnic table that's easy to transport. You could bring it out to your farm, bring it out to your cabin, bring it to your friend's house, or maybe even to your mom's as a gift. We're going to be doing this super simple with the most basic tools that a guy can use. We got ourselves a high-speed carpenter's pouch. You don't absolutely need one of these, it's just more convenient to carry your tools. We got a high-speed 16-ounce DeWalt hammer. This is my siding hammer. Normally use something a little heavier for framing, but it's not in the weight of your hammer. It's all in the swing, in the flick of the wrist. We got ourselves a high-speed measuring tape. We can measure up a few things. We got a high-speed speed square. Very cheap, very easy. And I already took the liberty of preloading one of my pouches. What we're using today is a 3-inch hot galvanized framing, spiral framing nail. And we're going to try to get it done with just those. We're going to try to do it without a drill, without temporary screws, this and that. So as you can see, I already took the liberty of building a very high-speed temporary workbench area, and we've got some lumber in stock. What you're going to need for this project today is 11 2x6. They can be pre-cut, which means they're a little shorter than 8-footers. I think they're like 93 1/4, and that's where you'll get your best quality lumber because they're more mass-produced for framing for wall studs. And 3 pieces of 2x4x8. Now, since it's been many years since I built one of my picnic tables, I forgot that I always used to buy pre-cuts, and I went up and picked out the lowest quality bottom of the barrel 8-footers that were rejected multiple times and flicked to the back of the pile. And when I got to the cash to pay for them, I looked back and realized, oh yeah, I used to use the good on 2-side lumber that's actually fairly straight, and they're pre-cuts. But anyway, we're going to get it done today with some lumber that's only good on one side. We're going to try to make it the best we can, but we're not building a piano. That's the fun part of rough carpentry. It doesn't have to look like a masterpiece. It's just a basic picnic table that I'm going to drag out to my farm. Now, had it been for someone I love, I would have taken the time to ask, where's all the good lumber at? This is nonsense, right? So anyway, we got our lumber in stock here. We're going to do a 6-foot picnic table today. So we're going to start with the tabletop. What we want is 5 pieces of 2x6 for your tabletop. We're going to cut them at 6 foot long. And I'm going to double check which side is the good side, how much of the chipped up or like incomplete pieces of board we can chop away to get the best piece of each piece of lumber. Okay, so see how we've got some bark, stuff like that here? This is the end I'm going to trim off. And as you can see, the bottom of the barrel stuff, there's a lot of splinters here. So that'll be facing down under the tabletop. We got a framing pencil. One of the tricks I use is put a bit of tape around it. It doesn't fall out of your pouch when you lean over. It's easier to grab. So we're just looking for 6-foot tabletop boards. Mark at 6, 72 inches. All out your high-speed framing square. Anyone can do this. You don't have to be a tradesman. You can build your own picnic table. Believe in yourself and you can accomplish anything you want. Always remember that. Alright, and we also have high-speed 50/50 safety glasses. I can see you perfectly, but you can't see me perfectly. So 50/50s are good in the daytime. They'll reflect some of the glare from the sun, but also in low light areas you can still see really good. So they're better than fully tinted safety glasses. There's our first piece to our tabletop. I'm going to lay these in here on my trailer floor. There's going to be a bit of scrap here as well. And what I used to use my scrap for was making little flower planters. You just take your 2x6 or 2x4s, whatever you have most in abundance, measure them about 8 or 9 inch, and put a 22.5 degree cut on both ends, and you could build an octagon just like a stop sign. Layer that up until it's about that deep, fill it with soil and put some flowers in there and give it to your mom. I know my mom loved them. Watch out for falling steel saws. So we got good on one side. We're going to chop off this end again. And the last cut I was kind of cutting with my arm over the saw. That's not the best way to do it. It's more safe to do it this way. Okay, we got 2 pieces of our tabletop. On here, all the bark came off there right in the middle, so we can't do a whole lot about that. We'll take some off of this end. You know, I actually started my first business was building and selling lawn furniture. I called it Dougie's Lawn Furniture, and I wasn't very old. I was probably the summer of grade 7 going into grade 8. I got a student business loan for $850. I went out and bought myself a cheap skill saw, little hammer and pouch, a drill, some lumber, and some nails, and even a bucket of stain. 850 bucks, could afford all of that back in the day. And for that was my summer job. I made $4,000 in the summer of that year. 12 years old. Selling picnic tables, double lawn chairs, single lawn chairs, garbage boxes, flower planters, even bird houses out of the scrap. Nothing better. I had a radio set up in my shed. I was using the old horse shed as my workshop. edges on the tabletop. We've got a bit of bark there, we're going to get rid of that side. Whole bunch of splinter area here. And before we stain it, we can also take a rough piece of sandpaper and take off the splinters. So no children are going to get a splinter in their leg when they're climbing in and out of the table. The purpose of this table is basically so we can cook up a hot dinner, a hot lunch out at the farm when we're land clearing. And we haven't camped there yet, but we'll be camping there this summer coming. This past summer we had a fire ban because of the drought and all the forest fires we had. And it was just a bit too hot, like 38 degrees. That's too hot for being in a tent. Don't get me wrong, you can still camp in 38. You gotta get up early. As soon as that sun comes up, you're gonna boil. Alright. Things are progressing along smoothly. Hit the like button. We even got a bit of sawdust on the old camera. Alright, we got a whole bunch of bark up here. Take that off. Actually, we got a big chunk out of the... So we're going to take that, both ends off a little bit. I know I got about two feet extra, so I can take 6 inches at least here and still be able to trim a nice bit off the other end. It's about 2 degrees Celsius right now. Last day of November, it's a beautiful day. You gotta make hay when it's a beautiful day. That's what they say, I think. So anyways guys, I just found out I'm wearing a baby blue hat. For the last year or so when I bought this hat, I thought it was gray. Like the same color as this hoodie. Thought I had a matching hat, and my daughter just informed me that no Dad, you've been wearing a baby blue hat for the last year. You didn't even know. So what happens when you're a little bit colorblind. You tend to get these surprises. I'm kind of thinking about buying a set of those colorblind correction glasses so I can actually see what you guys see. That would be fun. Keep your work area tidy as you go. That way you're not tripping and falling and breaking your wrist off. Snapping off an ankle, anything like that. Alright. So on the very, I'll show you this now. On the very outer edges, this is where your legs are going to be climbing in and out under the table the most. So you want to have a clean edge facing to the outside of your tabletop. Because this is the underside of the table, and this is where your knees are going to be scraping off the wood the most. So I'm going to organize them now and take a very short commercial break. We will be right back. Alright folks, we're back from our commercial break, and our next step now is once we have our 5 pieces of tabletop 2x6s trimmed to 6 feet, we need to find the length of the 3 pieces of 2x4 we're going to nail all this tabletop together with. So what I do to find that is I just, every table's different. You can go with 6 pieces on the top, 7, 4, make it even more narrow. It's up to you guys, but I find 5 is a good size. So I just put all my 2x6s together, measure my overall length. We've got 27 3/4. Now I'm going to use my speed square to put a small gap in between each board so that the water and snow can melt and run down and not pool up on the top of your table. And so 4 times 1/8 of an inch is a 1/2 inch. Okay, so that brings us to 28 1/4. And then we want to keep our 2x4s in about 1 inch from the edge on both sides. So we subtract 2 inches. The length of this piece is going to be 26 inches and 1/4. 26 1/4. Okay? So now we're going to cut 3 of those at 26 1/4. So now we grab our 2x4s out of our stockpile. Oh, we need 3 of these. They're just over 2 feet, so 1 8-foot board will do. This one is not too bad. So I'll start from this side where it's good on both sides. Wick it away from some of that bark on the far end there. I don't know if you can tell, but carpentry is also one of my passions. My dad was a journeyman electrician, and growing up he was working a lot in residential home building. So he was wiring up all the houses, and I would go help him, and I'd pull the wires through the studs for him and lay boxes next to each outlet and prepare all the materials for him and stuff like that. But what interested me the most was all the scrap pieces of lumber laying everywhere. I was like I was in a gold mine out in Tilt Cove somewhere. And I was like, what are you going to do with all this wood? And he was like, oh, that's all scrap. There's lots of scrap from every house, eh? I said, so this is free? He said, yes. So where's the hammer and the nails? He said, well, there's lots of beat up nails around. You might have to straighten out a few. Just don't beat your fingers up too much, right? And sure enough, I had purple fingernails. I was building birdhouses out of scrap lumber I was finding around, stepping on nails. I was having the best time of my life. So that's when I found out that I love to build things. And anytime you can bang together a few pieces of lumber and build something out of it, it's a really fun time. I was framing houses for a year or so when I was living in Edmonton, Alberta, and I showed up early for work every day. Couldn't wait to get started. And typically carpenters are fun people. They're funny, and they're just always happy because they're out in the fresh air. They're enjoying their own thoughts. They're creating things, and people really appreciate a guy when he can create a few things. Certainly helps too when you can build a few things for yourself. You save yourself a lot of money. Now that we've got our 3 pieces to connect our tabletop, so what we want to do now is make sure our tabletop is fairly square when we're banging it together. It also helps to have a piece of board that you can butt all the pieces up to, make sure they're all in a perfect line. What I'm going to do is use this piece of 2x8 to get me off the wall of the trailer a little bit. I got a little scrap piece of 2x8 here to butt all my 2x6s up to. So I'm going to drive a couple temporary nails. So then we're going to figure out, I always bring these pieces of 2x4 in about 6 inches from either end. And then 36 would be our center, because it's half of 72. And these are 2x4s, so half of a 2x4 would be 1 1/2 1/4, so 1 3/4. On either side of that center line, make a mark for 1 3/4. And I just use my high-speed speed square. I give myself some lines here. The secret to carpentry is plumb, level, and square. That's what you should always aim for in everything you build. So what I'm going to do now is just measure in 1 inch and make a mark there, because I know I want my 2x4s to stay in 1 inch from the edge. Okay, now we can grab a 2x4. We already got our marks. I can bang that in right now. These are 3-inch spiral nails. So I don't want to go straight down, because the point of the nail will actually show up in our tabletop. So I need a little tiny bit of an angle so it doesn't protrude to the other side. We're going to do that on each one so that we can space out the rest of our tabletop pieces and get them secured. You're holding your hammer, you don't want to be choked up like this. That's going to strain your wrist. Hold your hammer down towards the bottom and let the weight of the hammer head drive the nail. You don't want to be stiff like this. You want to have wrist action like that. That way you can drive 300 nails a day instead of 20. Hit the like button if you guys like this type of content. I love building stuff. I will build more on the channel if you like it. Yeah, I'm just giving it a tiny bit of an angle. So now, because we got our 2x8 tacked in place, I can use my speed square as a spacer. Like so. And I will just give it a light tap. Make sure it's up tight to my 2x8. So we got it spaced on this end. I'm going to nail this end first. A little bit rusty with the hammer, so it is a little bit like lightning. Doesn't hit the same spot twice, you know. Then we just moved on to the far end. Put our spacer in there and good to go. And then we nail up our middle one as we go. And you could have a spacer here, but we're just doing a rough picnic table for out on the farm. What I used to use is little pieces of quarter or 3/16 thickness like panel board. And I'd have little pieces so that I could use a spacer on every place. I could set up the entire board with spacers, nail the outside, and then just nail off the whole thing. But this way works just as well. So just keeping our tabletop tight in this square corner. And we use our spacer, speed square, bang her together. Move our spacer down. All these nails are under your tabletop, so if you're making big dents in the wood, they're not going to see that on the top. What do you guys think so far? I know it's probably super loud, hammering inside the trailer. And just like that, folks, we have ourselves a tabletop. There's our picnic table. So, what we want to do now is leave that where it was. What we want to do now is build our sides, and once we have our sides, then we can measure for our braces that go underneath. And then we just got to cut the benches to 6 feet to match the tabletop. So, memory serves me correctly, it was about a 22.5-degree angle, and the legs were roughly, I'm gonna say 23 inch, something like that. Let me just get back with you. I'm gonna try this out and see if that's the right measurement. This has been a few years. All right, folks. I've just made my first leg, and they're not 23 inches long, they should be 32 inches long. But we have to put a 22.5-degree angle on both ends. So I'm going to show you how to do that now with a speed square. You don't have to be a master carpenter, you can do this, trust me. Okay, let's check this out. So what we want to do, see right here it says pivot. We're gonna place our speed square on the end of our board, and we're gonna pivot like this. And see on the bottom of your speed square, it says degree. So we're looking for a 22.5-degree cut, which would be right in the middle of 20 and 25. So once we get the 22.5 lined up there and your pivot is up tight to your board there, that is the angle you need. Make a line on the far end there, and that right there is your 22.5-degree angle that you're looking for. cut this angle first and then measure 32 inches. And we'll do that angle again. Okay, we've got ourselves a 22.5 degree angle. Now we're going to measure from our point 32 inches. Make a mark. That's where we place our pivot. We're gonna mark here 32. We're gonna put our speed square on there again with the line. This line is right on your mark, and then we just pivot like this out to 22.5, and there's our second cut. Hope I bought enough 2x4, I think I did. So we got 2 legs so far. We're gonna cut 2 more. This one here is not enough to get a 3rd leg. That goes in a scrap pile. So once you got 1 leg cut, you can trace them for the other 3. Don't worry about it being potentially longer or shorter by 1/16 of an inch. Picnic tables are always laid on uneven ground. Alright folks, we are back after a very high speed coffee break. My favorite mug. And now we are going to pre-assemble the sides temporarily. And then we're going to take the sides off, load it into the trailer. We're going to cut our seats and our braces, but we want our sides on so that we can measure to get the length of our braces. Okay, so I'm gonna lay the tabletop up on my temporary workbench here. I know it's not level, but it's okay. We're going to make do, and we're going to use measurements instead of a level to make this level. So let's get to it. Now you might want to have someone help you with the tabletop. It starts to get heavy once you get this many pieces of lumber put together. Alright, so I've got my 4 legs already cut. They were 32 inches long with a 22.5 degree angle. And the angle is the same. It's coming this way and this way. So when you put it on your table, like this will be sitting flat on the ground. Like so. This is level. So what we want to do is temporarily tack these on here with nails, because we're trying to do this without using the drill. And that'll give us a chance to measure out our cross member here, and then we can fabricate that and take our measurements from the tabletop to the top of our cross member. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll start 2 nails with the board laying down. It's easier that way. I'll get them to the point where they're almost through the 2x4. Okay. So we want to go right to the end of our piece here that's under our tabletop. I didn't drive my nails all the way in. It's enough there to easily yank those out again. You just use your gloves to take the splinters off. Like this. And it looks like it's freshly sanded and handcrafted. You see what I mean, guys? Carpentry is a lot of fun. It's out here in the backyard, having the time. Neighbors don't know why I'm talking to myself out here. You want to put these on a bit of an angle. That are easier to bang in for yourself. Alright, now we can measure for our cross member. We know we want our bench to be about halfway between the tabletop and the ground, somewhere in this area here. So they're about 30 inches. Now that we have an angle on them, they're about 30 inches from the tabletop to down here. So I'm going to say around 15 inch. Will give us enough room to easily climb in and out of this this picnic table. I'm going to say somewhere in there. And somewhere in there. Now we know that we're going to have two pieces of 2x6 together with a little gap in between to let the water flow through. So we can measure this right on our tabletop. We want at least 11 1/4 inches for our benches. And we also don't want our bench right up tight to your leg. You need a little bit of extra room to get your legs in and out when you're climbing in and out. So we're going to say 13 inches overhang. From about there. And 52 plus 13 is around 65. So we're going to cut our horizontal members here at 65 inches. These will be 2x6. Alright folks, I see what I've done there. I normally have a jig or at least a measurement between the top of the legs but I didn't match that measurement, so I just popped off the legs again. I traced the first set of legs onto the underside of the tabletop. We're going to use that as a template to make both sides exactly the same. So I've already got my marks here. Just make it flush onto the side of the table. Got our horizontal member here. Line up my marks. So I knew something was off. The second horizontal member I cut it at 72 inches, 6 feet instead of 65. So we got to make a quick adjustment here. We're going to make it 65 like it's supposed to be. Bear with us, it's been a while since we banged together a picnic table. Do a little on the ends here. A couple little custom cuts. You know, some people out there, that's what they call me, Dougie Custom Cuts. Alright, we're in our traced out marks. We are going to just match up to one side. That side over there, we already have our depth measurement, so that's all we need. Couple little micro adjustments. I have our marks. Fire away. Thank you for sticking with me. I know this is a loud one, it's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know how many people are going to appreciate this, I'm not sure, but main thing is we're having fun. And that's what we're here for. Now I'm going to load up another handful. Another trick to carpentry, that's all you need. This will get you by for a nice bit. You don't need to put 10 pounds of nails in your pouch, and your pouch is just falling off all day. There we go, folks. We got ourselves another side. just going to pop these nails out. Use a block there, it's a lot easier for a bit of leverage. Okay, so pop these nails out as well. Or actually, what we're going to do now is find our measurement for our brace. So I'll use this one with the nails. So now we want a brace that will butt up against our center piece here, and will land roughly right in the center of this. Alright, so now I've got a 65-inch piece of 2x6 measured out. Don't worry, the skill saw has been dropped many times. Still works perfect. Alright. Now to visualize this, we can make a mark. Remember I said 13-inch overhang? We can make a mark at 13-inch in on either side to know that we're centered. Like this. And it should be like this. Somewhere in there like that. Alright, but first, what I want to do is take the corner off of these, or when children are running around it, they're not going to hit their legs there on that. Just put her on a 45, 2-inch in cut on 45. Should be looking something like that, you guys. I'll just make a mark. So now what I'll do is pop these legs off again, and we'll fabricate it laying down flat. So we're using spiral nails. Not as easy for pull them out. Now I'm just going to use the outer edge of my tabletop as my straight edge. I'm going to show you this, guys. So I made some temporary marks where I want to put my nails. I made a mark here for a 13-inch overhang for our bench. I made a mark here for 15 inches from underside of the tabletop to the top side of our horizontal member. And I just line up those marks. See, I got 15-inch here and I got a 13-inch overhang. Now I just bang all that together and we'll have a look at it. It should be perfectly level without any use of a level. Hit the like button if you're having as much fun as I am, guys. Comment down below if you got some tricks or some tips from being crazily unsafe, or if I'm just doing a great job, you know? Out here trying to be the world's coolest dad ever. Just lining up my marks and nail away. You want these on an angle again. It's a very slight angle so it doesn't go 3 inches all the way through. So now we have our sides prefabbed. Just like that. There's one side, now we're going to make the other side. Alright folks, for the interest of keeping this super simple and not having to do angle cuts with your skill saw and stuff like that, we can just do a straight cut on our braces. I'm going to say 38 inch for both of them. And then that way it will look something like this. It's gonna brace up against your center piece here. You just drive your nails straight down into your tabletop like that. And over here, 38 will be somewhere along here. And you just, when you get up to your cabin or wherever you're going, you drive your nails in on a slight angle down into the meat of your horizontal member. That way it's easiest. You don't have to worry about cutting angles with the skill saw and stuff like that. And then all you have to do is cut your bench pieces. So we're almost done here, folks. Thank you for sticking with me so far. One brace. Here's the one I hacked up about 7 or 8 times trying to find the right angles. Luckily, we always have an emergency piece of about 6 feet of 2x4 kicking around. For emergencies just like this. It's already starting to get a little bit darker afternoon here. So we're going to have to finish this up. Alright, there's our 2 braces. Now we just got to cut 4 bench pieces. These will all be cut at 62 or 72 inch, 6 foot long. We got a bit of bark and this and that over here. We'll try to face that in a certain fashion on the benches so that it's not creating splinters. people's legs and stuff. One bench. Okay, we just need one more bench. And we got ourselves a prefab picnic table to go out to the farm. Okay, we got some damage here. We're gonna trim that. Don't need to measure. Just clean up the lumber a bit. I'll measure from my cut side. Starting to get a little messy here. Alright folks, so that is all the components you need to bang together a high-speed picnic table for yourself. As you can see, it's super easy. We've got 4 benches at 72 inch, 6 foot long. We've got a tabletop, 6 foot long. We've got 2 sides prefabricated. We've got our 2 braces that we're going to bang on once we get to site. And when you get to site, you just lay this down on a fairly flat area. Put your sides on. And another thing I might do on this one is nail a couple of little blocks here, because I find this is a weak point when you're dragging picnic tables around. If you only have 2 or 3 nails down here, that's where the sides will start to go like this, and want to pull those nails out when you're dragging the picnic table back and forth on your site. But if you had another block here, you could get another 3 nails. Nail that block down solid and put another 3 nails in here. So that's what I'll do. I'll use a little bit of my scrap. I'll make that, put that into the pile. We're going to load it up aboard the trailer here. I'll show you what that looks like for easy transport. Alright folks, to make these picnic tables stronger so you can move them around back and forth and they're not going to break up on you, I recommend another 4 28-inch pieces of 2x4. Just like this here. Lay that on there, double nail it, make it down solid, and then you can drive another 3 nails on each side. So then you'll have 6 nails on either side. Make this a nice solid picnic table. So add that to the list. 4 pieces, 2x4, 28 inches long. I'm gonna trim those up, and it's probably a long video here already, so I'll just do that off camera and then we're gonna load it up on the trailer. Well folks, thanks for watching all the way to the end. We have ourselves a prefabricated picnic table strapped down in the trailer, ready to go to the farm. Subscribe right now so you don't miss my future videos when I'm gonna drag it up into the clearing and build it on site and cook you guys a spaghetti here on YouTube up in the woods. But here's what it looks like when she's all strapped down and a safe load to go out the highway. It's going to be pulled by my high-speed 2014 Toyota Corolla YouTube rally car. She's all strapped down. Shake it as much as you want, nothing's going to move. I even got the blocks in there, those 28-inch pieces, and the braces I think were 38. See, they're right there and right there. We've got our 2 sides on there. We've got our 4 bench pieces, and the tabletop is down on the bottom. So thanks again for watching folks. We'll see you on the next one. Deep Dive Survivor. I hope you enjoyed this. Okay, something looks totally different. Time for a quick commercial break.